Hey guys, welcome to another one of our reviews. I'm the Worm, this is the Proton. Today we are going to be doing another mechanical mod, but from a new company, one you probably all know about now, Mods and Atties. They were kind enough to send us through a few items to go through, and yeah, we're going to be doing one of them today.
Indeed. What we're doing today, guys, is Poldiac clone from Mods and Atties .com. Standard stuff really, guys. Mech mod, it's modular, so we're going to do a proper little close-up. I'm going to take the switch apart for you guys just to show you what we're doing and who knows what else, a couple of bits and bobs with it. Price on this one, guys, $55.99 from Mods and Atties. This is our true 1-1 clone, guys. It's not the same as some of them cheaper versions are out there, which we'll go through. But that is what it is. I think what we're going to do is just chuck it straight into a close-up so you can actually have a little look at the mod and some of the bits and bobs that have been going on with it. Then we'll come back up to us and do the normal level of flapping. Just a quick close-up. I say quick because it's probably not going to be, of the Poldiac clone. So let's get into it. This is how you can receive it. You've got a scratch on the box, happens through transport. You've got a magnetic catch on the front, lovely stuff, and it's got some sort of very firm padded foaming stuff going on in there. Let's take out bits and bobs and we'll move the box on. Okay, right, first of all, let's get into the actual mod itself. Okay, good close-up look. Button there, lovely stuff. You've got some slats, on there, and then you can see what it is, guys, to be honest with you. Ignore some of the scuffs and scrapes on this, guys. We wanted to put this for its paces before we tested it, so that's what that is. Let's get into it, why not. One thing I do want to point out, guys, very quickly though, is that this sort of pant set in 650, you will get a spinning thing happening. Okay, it's a bit loose on there. So that is what it is. It's something that even the original suffered with, so bear that in mind, alright guys. And then you've got, going into your tubes, you've got your pants sort of that slips over your tube. Now, the idea of this, I'm guessing this can be changed and whatever else, and crossed with each other, so you could put brass ones on there, whatever it is you want it to do. But that's what it is. So tube, 650 pant set, 650 tube. Alright, we'll get into the bottom cap. Bottom cap, you've got your spring in there, very firm spring, it's nice, and you can see you've got a sort of a very big well, and then in there you've got your battery venting, so it's incorporated really nicely actually. Really big fan of that. The spring itself, that's actually 925 silver plated in there, guys, so that's going to give you a nice decent conductivity throughout the mod. Everything in this is actually 925 silver, the screws and top and bottom, it's all 925, so awesome stuff. That's the bottom cap. We've got that out of the way quickly. Whilst we're on tubes, we're going to this. This is a little bit different to the original that is cloning, mainly because you've got a ring there, and then you've got your 350 tube and your 350 pant, and then if you want it 500, you'd stick that on and that'll make it 500. It's not one piece like the original is. Phil did say he was doing an upgrade kit for this clone, which is going to consist of the slotted sleeve around here, because that's not quite accurate. He's going to the basically complete flat one, which most of the originals come with. Also a solid tube 500, so you won't get this smaller one, you actually get the 500 one, and the solid pant set as well, for said 500 tube. That's going to be available. That's a little upgrade kit, if you like. That's going to be available in stainless steel and brass, and it's going to be about 15 quid. So if you wanted the original look, the price of the mod plus that, you weigh it up. But that is what it is. But for now, you've got 500, you've got 350. A little kind of thing I was curious about this was, I was thinking, fantastic, because you've got 650 tube, 650 pant, that sits to the outside, Bosch 650 kick, but it doesn't screw in, unfortunately. That's the limit, which is a bit strange to me, seeing as that screws into there, like so. Okay, and hello. And then that also screws into there, like so. So it stands to reason, realistically, that there should screw onto that and give you the 650 kick option. And also, I was hoping would pinch that pant set to stop it rolling. But that is what it is, guys. And no, that's not the case. So we'll stick the switch back in there. Sorry, the bottom cap back in there. I mean, going to the bottom cap, obviously, guys, you've got your bits and bobs. Phil did say some of the cheaper versions of this etching is not even the right colour. It's left sort of SS or gold leaf plated dingle, but you can see what it is. It looks pretty nice. Again, a few minor marks where I've been using and abusing it. I mean, with this thing rotating inside here, I haven't found that to be a major pain, purely because, I mean, if you've got an Attie on there, you can kind of grip and twist, so it's kind of turn that frown upside down, one of them ones. So that's the tubes. Now let's get into the mod itself. Now with this adjustment here, you've got adjustment here for battery rattle. Okay, now the spring in the bottom of this mod is very, very tight. I mean, even my Sony's, for example, combined with this spring that really does push that battery up nice, I haven't actually had to undo this connection in the bottom at all to allow for battery rattle. So I'm guessing maybe for some of the smaller modes, possibly 500s, I think 500's a mode that a lot of mods struggle with, especially flat tops, but you've got adjustment in there for your battery rattle. Screw it in, screw it up, whatever you need to do, that is what it is. And again, 925 silver plated for a better conductivity. We then undo our top. Obviously guys, you've got your standard 510, you've got a little drip ball in there, but no air paths cut in that for air feed. So yeah, just bear that in mind guys, that your air feed may be slightly restricted. And I may be a complete and utter liar, it's not restricted at all. Oh, let's just take the sleeve off. Basically, as I've screwed that on, you've got your air paths cut under there, so it will bring in air from the bottom, so that's a lie. You can get air feed from the bottom. This is the cover that sits over your switch, and I'm guessing again interchangeable, so if you want to eat it brass, that's fine. Shut your face, worm, sit there laughing at me like a plick. Basically, you've got your MM on there. Worm's being very distracting, it's very naughty of him, but that just stops straight off. Okay, so you can do whatever you like with that if you want to replace that or whatever else. One thing I've noticed is actually guys, and I'm sorry this is a half-assed close-up, I've got so many things going on in my head about what I want to say about this, and it's just all coming to me at different times. When using it, it does kind of have a little catch, alright? So, I mean, I'd imagine that something even the original struggles with, just because of how fine a point that is, and the switch does move around slightly, but just something to bear in mind guys. Now, into the top, obviously 510 connections in there, so all you've got here is a very similar arrangement to what's under here, which is your 925 silver contacts, and that is what it is. Basically that is adjustable as well, and it's exactly the same way as the bottom is, exactly the same screws in fact, top and bottom, so they allow for different length atomizers. I've noticed though, if you do overdo this and you put it out far too much and you then screw in the atomizer on, it will kind of, as you make contact, it will screw itself down to the correct position. I kind of like that. There's a few bits and bobs about the switch guys. A magnetic switch first of all. I'm actually going to take this apart for you, which means I'm going to be zooming in, purely because there's some bits I wanted to show you. So we're going to start, well, we might as well start at the beginning I suppose. So let's take out this contact here. Okay, so there's your top contact just there, let's remove that. Let's then remove the bottom contact, which obviously is a bit difficult for you to see guys, but it's just me unscrewing a screw. That is what it is. So there's your two contacts. We're then going to unscrew this contact here. This is fairly simple stuff guys. It's a lot of people get sort of a bit iffy when it comes to modules because of you don't know what's going on in there, but that's why I'm showing you. So undo that bottom screw there, undo your top one as well, and obviously guys the bottom one is the one with the skirt on it. Undo your top contact there. So you've got two sets there guys, they're exactly the same. The button will now remove, okay, and basically how it works, you've got that screwed into the top, and if I then screw it back in, I will screw it in and show you actually, just it's going to be easier for you to understand if I do that, for those of you not in the know. So if I now screw that contact back in, oh hello, as you can see in there, that sort of sits in there, and you'd have one on the opposite side doing exactly the same thing. And then in your switch itself, you've got two cutouts, okay, there and there. Again guys, 925 on that, awesome. And then what happens is, as you can see in there, those parts, those sort of tips will be sitting at the back of this switch, and as you push it forward, that happens, the contact is made with that one and that there, same on the underneath, and obviously it would be your one coming up from there, which gives you your full connection. So that's how that works. Reason I wanted to show you this purely is just in case a few of you do have some sort of connection issues, sort of misfires and stuff, and we'll show you the reason for that and a potential way to solve it. Basically this is a problem that happened now and again, sort of required a firmer button press and whatever else, but basically the magnet on here, I've added a bit of bond to that because it did actually pop off when I was taking it apart, so I've added a little bit of super glue on there just to hold that into place. And then what we've got here is, as you saw it spin now, okay, that spins. If we undo here, what we've got in the base here is a screw threaded sort of sleeve, if you like. So we'll undo that. I'm just going to end up doing it by hand now, but we'll undo that. The last one by screwdriver. That should then be undone. And there you go, that's what we've got. Okay, and then what we've got is that piece there which screws into the bottom, holding this assembly together. This assembly's got a couple of O-rings on it for sort of seal. The top one would be that one, okay, with a little lip sticking out. The bottom one does not have that. The bottom one, the O-ring sits sort of up. And then in there across the back, as you can see, you see something light through it, you've got a magnet. Now basically, as that's sat into the mod, you've got this backing of this tube, and then the magnet is basically laid so that it will be attracted to the back of that body, keeping it in place. You'll note that mine was not falling out purely because what I've done is stuck a wee bit of glue on there to keep it in place, which Phil actually recommended people have done purely because of this issue. Because obviously, as you can imagine, you've got your switch in there, you're pushing. It only takes that magnet to move very slightly, and then you're going to have to possibly take it apart anyway. So that there is a little fix for those of you that may be having connection issues. It's not particularly difficult to take all this apart. If I can manage it, any numpty can. But that is what it is. So magnets in there. Obviously, guys, you may be able to see that magnet's got a few marks on it. That was me making sure that I stuck it in the wrong way. So if you are going to do what I did and your magnet was to come off there, stick it on there. You'll be able to see which way this one was up because the glue backing will be still on a magnet. Stick it back on, find out what side repels it, then mark it, okay, and drop it in place with a little bit of glue on it. And obviously using something non-metal to move it around and manipulate it into where it needs to be, purely because if it's metal, the magnet's going to stick to it and you're back to square one with glue everywhere. So to put this back together, alright, what we're going to want to do is take our sort of, I don't know what you call it, module part I suppose, and line her up ish. It doesn't need to be spot on yet because you can adjust that afterwards, but line it up and make sure the correct bit's coming out the top, which again is the bit with the lip sticking out. And then you're going to grab your little sort of half barrel and give it a little turn. The barrel in there will turn as you're screwing this up. So what I've been doing is basically I just grab it with my thumb and twist the module itself until it starts to get a bit more resistant, which it's just starting to now. And then I'll get a little screwdriver involved and give that the additional spins it's needing. Because you can, as long as you haven't done it up too tight, you can spin this around in there to line your switch back up as it should be. Okay. And then what I'll do is just give it a little bit more, just because I always like a little bit more. And there you go. So that's that back as it should be. Okay. And then what we would want to do is grab your switch, make sure your badging is up the right way, because if it goes in the wrong way, it's not good. It doesn't look right. And you're going to want to push that in and hold it in place. Now, what I've found makes this easier is if you grab this and let it hold it. Okay, it saves your effort. Either one of these silver contacts back into the top or bottom, it doesn't really matter where you start, and screw it down. Oops, there we go. Give it a little screw. Now I've found doing these up quite tight again decreases the amount of chances you've got of a misconnection. Okay, and obviously the switch is in place, so you're not going to roll that barrel anywhere it's not supposed to be going. And then flip the opposite and do it to the bottom. So just stick the screw in. And sorry guys for the poor camera work, but hey, we're not professional at all. And we don't try to be. And nor do we try to be either. And then basically grab your screw at the bottom and give that a nice old twist as well. And then what we want to do, just pop that off because that's no longer needed to be held. I have noticed since I kind of positioned this magnet and glued it in, the press does seem to be slightly firmer, which I actually prefer. But just be aware of that, guys. Okay, so that's now basically back together. All we need to do is grab our top contact and sort of get her in. As I say, the bottom one that would be the top of your battery, I've actually found no need to have it extended at all with any battery I've tried, and I've tried a few. Tried some Panasonic 500s, tried some EFF 350s, and I've tried some 18650, 30 amp EFS and Sony's, so they've not been an issue, so I screwed it on the way in. I tend to leave that a little bit loosey goosey, and then I would pop, screw it back over. Obviously the thinner end goes down, the thicker end goes up, so that just sort of pops over there, and that's you back in position for that. Let's grab an Attie, why not? I'll grab a little Attie. I find that screwing the Attie into this 510 first, it's just a Helios clone. I'm doing that a wee bit, and then screwing her down. There we go, lovely. And then we'll grab the, actually I've got to do, we'll grab a battery. Plug a battery in there, nice and springy in there. Now I'm assuming with this 650 tube that you can 500 kick it, so that is always good. And then we're literally going to grab our tube, push it in. This is part of the tension of the spring pushing against me. There we go, push her in, and we are away. That is it basically, guys. Let's grab a nice ridiculous strip tip, and that's us. That's the Poldiac. A little close up. Sorry if we missed anything, I don't think we did, but there's always a chance this is us, let's face it. And what we're going to do is come back up to us and have a nice little flap. So there you go, guys. It goes to show that module's not as hard to take apart.
That was the up close of the Poldiac clone from Atties. So you saw the switch being taken apart there, lots of little bits in there that can go missing and a little bit complicated to put back together, but hopefully you saw everything in high enough detail there that if you do take it apart you know what's going on, and you can refer to the video and follow it through step by step. Mr. Brown's taken this apart quite a few times now just because he wanted to know how to put it apart and put it back together on camera, because it's always annoying when you're on camera and you're just like, you always forget one thing. It always happens, but this time smooth as anything can go, and lovely.
A little bit of a crap camera stuff from me, but that's always just the way it is. Right guys, one of the reasons why I wanted to take the switch apart was just because I felt there could be better stuff going on in there. Not necessarily better, but I felt stuff could be slightly adjusted and it was going to improve it. A couple of things you want to be aware of with this switch. One, you've just seen how to take it apart. It's not particularly complicated. It is stated on the site, you take this switch apart, you don't know what you're doing, and refunds will not be issued. It's as simple as that, and I am totally with them. I wouldn't give refunds to somebody who cocks up a switch and I don't know what they're doing either. But there's videos here, video on the site, so have a look and know what you're doing. As you see in the actual button part that comes back, you've got that silver pin in there, 925 again, guys, it's all 925 plated. That is free moving, okay? It's not like it's loose by any way, shape or form. Excuse the phone dingles.
That was my phone.
It's not like it's loose in any way, shape or form, but there is a chance of it moving eventually. Let's face it, it's going to be going through the rigmaroles of everyday life in a car, vibrations, this kind of stuff. If you're getting miscontact, it could be that. Also, the magnet at the back, which I showed you, which I've glued in, it is just kind of placed and it's held in together by the sleeve at the back. The magnets are pretty strong, but there is a decent sized gap there and there's a lot of force coming on it from the other side, so it only takes it to wobble a little bit and then push the button and it's going to knock it out of place. So even if you don't plan on taking your mod apart, it's always nice to know how to, if you have to. But a few simple adjustments, it is what it is, and you can do them if you have to. As far as the pin that moves, that's in the switch and it could potentially move up and down causing a miscontact, the reason I haven't glued that in place, I mean I did it by finger and sort of gauged what was even between the two and it's working spot on, but I know what I'm like, I'll put glue on that and it will glue in the wrong place and it will forever not make a contact properly. So I haven't glued that because it's not particularly hard. I mean, getting the magnet involved at the back is the hard bit. Once you've done that, it's fairly easy to pull that switch out and readjust that silver pin because it's just undoing the top and the bottom contacts completely, both parts, and then you can adjust it, put it back in, and jobs are good. And this is available in 3 different finishes, guys: full brass, SS, and then a mixture, which is awesome. And as we said, obviously the pant set and the sleeve at the top are going to be interchangeable with the brass one if that's what you want to do. All these parts are going to be interchangeable with each other in terms of the clones, but also these parts are all interchangeable with the real Poldiac. Right, this is a proper 1-1 dingle dangle, which is what you want from a 1-1 clone. It should be compatible, and these are. And Phil actually said he's got one and he's tried them all, and they all fit, including every part of that switch. So take that into account. I mean, obviously we said the price $55.99, which some people will state is quite a lot of money for a clone, and it is a lot of money for a clone. But in the grand scheme of things, yeah, no, I mean, you spend 40 quid on or 35 quid on a NEM clone, or 40 quid on a Bargwire clone, or a PAPS clone, whatever, you spend that money on that. It's only an extra 10-15 quid. But what you've got to bear in mind, guys, is you're getting all 3 battery options with this. For one, the switch is modular. It's not exactly like the easiest switch in the world. For 2, and it's good stuff. So take that into account. And also, guys, you've got to bear in mind into your equations as well that when you're buying, if you went to MMH for this, and you was buying a Poldiac, the switch alone from them is going to cost you best part of 55 quid. So the switch alone from them is the price of the entire mod here. If you put all of the configurations together on them and bought them, you're looking at 150, 160 quid mod. With this, 55 quid. And if you do want that initial look, which I did state in the close-up that Phil has got them coming, which is the 500 pant and tube set, as well as the smooth sleeve. They're available, and that's 15 quid. So all in, that's cost you what, 72 quid, 71 quid all in. And then you've got everything you could want. So that is pretty cool. And I do want to point out that them tubes and stuff are only going to be available at Mods and Atties. Phil's had them custom made for his purposes. You're not going to get them anywhere else. So that is what it is, guys. Just bear that in mind. All right. I think to be honest with you, 71 quid is not bad when you can think of everything that you're getting.
Yeah, guys, just quickly, Miss Brown said like it comes with all battery tube sizes. Just be aware that you can't 650 kick this. You can 490, 500 kick this, and 350 kick it, but you can't do it with a 650.
It doesn't make sense to me though. Why?
No.
Because the 350 tube screws into the same part the 650 tube screw into. It would. Why doesn't that screw in? Why? I don't understand. That doesn't make sense to me.
But it doesn't, so there it is.
It doesn't. But if you're going to run 500, guys, just bear in mind you're going to have that additional tube there. That's just how it's designed. Talking about the tube, or sorry, not the tube, the pants. Talking about them. I mean, with this one rolling and rocking around. I mean, in terms of actually using it, it's not a problem because the way I grip this is with this. I can still access the head and move it if I wanted to. And if I do find it's moved out of position in my hand, which, let's face it, I'm vaping it, it's not moving. But if it did, it's very easy to readjust it. It is a little niggle. I do wish it sat sort of up, but again, it's something that happens on the real one, and a 1-1 clone is going to have the flaws that the real one does.
Yeah, if it's a true 1-1 anyway, it's going to be copied exactly. And obviously, like any flaws you get from the original, you're going to get in the clone. But to be honest, I think the main the price difference in this is because of everything that's going into that modular switch at the top. It's not so much finicky, but there are lots of pieces in there, and it obviously costs a little bit more to manufacture them to 1-1 standard.
It's not just that, you've got a 95 plate.
That's it.
Contacts as well.
95 plate contacts, so it all bumps up the prices a little bit. But when you're getting a decent mod out of this for what you'd pay 160 odd quid with everything for 55.99, can you complain really?
I don't think so.
No. The answer is no. I mean, like the Mods and Atties service is good. Always comes when it's meant to. Never had a parcel loss for them. We've had a few people on our Facebook. They've never had a parcel loss for them. So the service from there is top dollar. And you pay for what you get. We always say you pay for what you get. If you want a good 1-1 clone, you're going to pay a little bit more than the average £30 for a clone.
Fast tech dingles and stuff. I mean, the reason with the switch taken apart is I was getting a bit of miscontact. I do want to say, since I've pushed that and made it sort of what I judge by eye to be, even though I've got fairly good eyes for that kind of stuff, and I've glued that magnet at the back, the switch, I know it makes no sense, it does seem very slightly more firm. Alright, the magnets aren't going to have changed polarity or got stronger, but that's just how it feels, and I'm imparting that onto you. But also, adjusting that, I do feel I'm getting a slightly stronger hitting device now than I was when we first received it. Now that may very well be the fact that these have come from China land, all to England, Mods and Atties, to us, we've abused it. I mean, that little pin is going to move eventually over the course of its life. So adjusting that it made me feel like getting a better contact even than when I first initially got it. It does state that all of these are tested by Mods and Atties, and I don't disbelieve that for a second. But just be aware, guys, that may move. If you're brave and you want to glue it in place, I mean, that's totally on you. I personally think adjusting that once a week is not going to be a problem.
It could have been like what you said, like in readjusting it, but it could also have been like there could have been a slightly bit of like dirt in there that had been built up through travelling through all the different countries to your actual doorstep. Maybe taking it apart as just knock that bit off and giving you a better solid connection. So it could be anything, but if you're willing to take it apart, obviously no refunds if you don't know how to put it back together. If you're willing to take it apart, you know what you're doing, and you put it back together, there's always room that you can adjust it to your preference.
To be honest, in terms of taking the switch apart, I mean, I can't see anything you're going to break in that switch. I can't, because although it's a few different parts, losing parts, yes. Breaking parts, I wouldn't have imagined it's going to be something that's overly common. So I think if you do take it apart and you can't get it back together, watching a few videos, you get to the point where you can freeze screen, okay, I can do that, I can do that. It's not like a certain other, I mean, take for example the Sigeli 20 version 1, even to some extent the version 2, what a fucking palaver that was. So compared to that, this is a walk in the park. Yes, it's a bit more work than a bottom button like Chi or Nem, but then it's a lot more complicated design. I mean, while we're on the switch, the shirt that goes over the top, it does interfere with a button now and again. It doesn't stop you being able to press it. That doesn't stop that at all. But it does catch now and again. If you're one of them people like me, it will sort of gripe you slightly. I may take a little Dremel and just take a little bit off that lower lip, and then that won't happen as much. I mean, obviously when you're locking this device off, you've got to push the switch in slightly and then you turn your body, which is how you lock it off. I really like that. I mean, when I first sort of was looking at this mod online and then holding it, I was kind of thinking you've got to push that in and whatever else, but there's no way that's been depressed now that metal's over it. So a nice secure sort of way to lock it off, and it's a bit different to twist it or, do you know what I mean, unscrew a little dingle dangle and it will lock off. That's just, it's not the same with this. It's nice, it's a bit unique.
I think the other thing about it also being unique is also that I found with like the Nemesis and that when you lock it off to like use it and that, sometimes just through holding it you can get to a point where you have to probably give it a turn to actually get it unlocked again or to lock off your switch. Either way, these switches do all seem to have this problem at some point in their life, maybe through dirt build up or whatever, but they all seem to have this problem. But with this one, I can't really see it ever happening. I mean, you twist the whole body until you can see the whole button and it's ready to fire. So it seems like a way forward for these modular kind of switches, and I think it's a good idea. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, I mean, all the issues, again guys, all the issues we're saying are things that happen in a genuine article. So to be honest with you, I don't think you can expect anything more from this, seeing as it's a client. If anything, you'd expect less, and it doesn't seem to be giving you any additional problems because of that modular switch, which is awesome sauce. So that is what it is. What I was going to say to you has completely left my head.
Should we go to a top 10 and you might remember it?
Yeah, chances I will remember it. Oh no, that's it. I was going to do a little voltage test. Because basically when Phil said all these are 925 and we read it on the site and everything else, that immediately sprung to mind. Obviously it's modular, you can have a bit more of a drop off than you would with a simple button switch like you would in there, a lot of other bottom firers for example. So they've 925 coated it obviously to sort of make up or whatever for that module. So I have actually tested this briefly once, and I can roughly remember what the voltage drop off was, but we'll give it a go and see what happens if we are making contact, which we are. Okay, well that battery is needing replacing, so I'll replace that now whilst the worm has a little flappery.
Yeah, the other issue that I had with this mod was obviously the in 360 mode, that tube spinning, but it's not so much of an issue once you get used to actually using it.
650 mode?
650 mode, yeah.
360.
Did I say 360? Sorry.
Someone's Xbox on the brain.
650 mode, that tube spinning, at first when we first got it we thought it might be an issue when you're actually using it, but it's not uncomfortable, it's not unusable in any kind of way. It actually kind of adds to it, because when, sometimes when you're picking it up you can just literally, instead of having to like, I know it's like minor little things, but you can just turn the top head body and it all spins around for you. So
indeed. I put a new battery in this. I haven't charged it fully because I was lazy. 399 we're getting on the Tanko. Again guys, this is nowhere near the most advanced test, but it's all we've got at the minute, so you can get a rough gauge from it. Going to apply a 1.5 ohm Carto, just the same as we have every other met we've tested.
3.8.
3.80. I think that is what's that? It's a 0.2 drop. Well, it's a 0.19, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, the first test I did, it actually dropped by 0.3, so that kind of backs up what I was saying about me getting a little bit of a firmer connection, having adjusted that even from when we first received it. So if you are more than willing to do that when you first get this, see how it feels, and if you think it could give a little bit more, then maybe have a little adjustment in the switch straight away. And again, it's nothing that anyone can do about it, because it may well have happened from mods and Atties to the door or since then.
Yeah, so we're going to do our 5-point hit list, basically go through looks and all that kind of stuff, and basically give you our marks out of 10. Looks of the Poldiac 1.1 clone, stainless steel. It's an awesome looking device, it is. It's kind of got its own little funky flair to it. I love how the switch looks and the way the actual engravings has been done on this as well. I've got to give it a 10, it looks awesome. The Poldiac is a wicked looking mod.
For me, I mean obviously it's a clone, so credit for looks goes to and not to, well, whoever's made this one, or any others in fact, however, how much they look like it, at the end of the day it's what it's replicating. But for looks, I think it's awesome, I do. I think the brass one could look even better. I think a mixed one would be awesome. So I think no matter what configuration you get this in, it's going to look pretty bloody good. I love the etchings on it. I love the fact that the venting is incorporated into kind of the switch, and it looks very intelligently done. It's a very simplistic way of venting it, but it's not a hole in a body, do you know what I mean? So
bottom cap.
Yeah. What did I say?
Switch.
Switch, whatever. Yeah, I love the way it's done for the venting, just purely because it's nice. It's nice, and again, you've got no venting anywhere near, and even in my massive bare paws, using this comfortably, yeah, I may be slightly singed by one if a battery was to go. So I think that's wicked. Yeah, it's definitely getting a 10. With the sort of different pant sets you can get for it, and the fact that it's changeable, it just adds to it even more. So yeah, it's a 10 for looks for me.
Usability. In terms of actual day-to-day use, you've got to adjust like your battery rattle and stuff. That's the same with all mechanical mods these days. You've got to keep a charged battery. You've got to remember to probably keep your contacts clean, but other than that, it's a mechanical mod. In terms of actually just using the device, there's not really much to it. It's a mechanical mod. You unlock the switch and put your atomizer on, make sure it's all connected to the battery and that, and off you go. It's a 10 for that, I would say.
Usability, it's not particularly difficult to use. It's a mic mod. You just chuck a battery in it, get your centre pins or your battery rattle adjusted, whatever it is you need to do. But because this has not only got the adjustable top connection for the battery rattle, but you've also got the spring in there. Like I said in the class, I haven't actually found I've actually had to adjust it for any batteries, but it's there if you need to. Usability, I mean, it's not hard to use at all. It's not hard to use at all. There will be knocks that happen to this device, but they'll be coming in the next mark, I'd imagine. But yeah, usability in general is a 10. It's not hard to use at all.
Yeah, maintenance of this one. Obviously, with the amount of pieces you've got in that switch, if you're going to be taking that part, maintaining the internals of that modular switch, it's going to drop dramatically just because there is so many parts in there. There are not so much chance of you breaking it, but losing pieces or maybe not putting them back in the correct order. Maintaining the rest of the actual device is nothing really. I mean, it's a spring and tubes, and they're all solid tubes, so you've got nothing really to worry about there. So you're cleaning your contacts, but the switch is going to be the downside of this one. And I wouldn't say it's hard, but it's just you're going to spend 5-10 minutes on it, and to do it properly and take your time and not rush it. Basically, it's just going to be more time than actual hard. So I don't want to rate it too low because it's not overly hard. It's just time. So I'm going to say, depending on your DIY personal skill sort of thing, it's going to somewhere hit between an 8 and a 9 on those.
In terms of maintenance for me, it's inevitable at some point that little pin in the button is going to work its way up or down. It's inevitable. I mean, you may be lucky and over time not notice it 'cause it's worked its way both ways evenly. But to me, that says, having lived with it, that at some point, once every month, 2 months, 1 week, it could be anything, depends on what you're doing with it, you're going to have to take that button out. Now that isn't the hardest part of taking the switch apart, but you're going to have to adjust that. Adding a bit of glue to the magnet at the back definitely helps. With taking it apart, because you haven't got to worry about making sure that magnet's in the right way and it flipping and then attaching to the switch and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to give this an 8 for maintenance, because you are going to have to get involved with the switch, and obviously if you get a brass one you have to polish that and that kind of stuff. That depends on what look you're going for. But it's not going to be what I would consider necessarily a novice level maintenance. I mean, it doesn't matter what mod you've got, any mod that I can look at over there, and there's a load of them over there, they've all got things that need maintaining on different levels and varying difficulties. This is not the most difficult by any stretch of imagination that I own, but it is definitely not the easiest either. So if you're kind of a novice, honestly I still don't think you're going to struggle, but it's going to be something that requires more attention than a bottom firer may do. So for that reason it's getting an 8, but just be aware guys, you might have to put a little bit of effort in with that switch.
Yeah, build quality and price. The build quality on this is amazing. I mean, it's a 1-1 clone. It does everything is built the same as the 1-1 clone, as we said earlier in the review. Mods and Atties owner has got one herself, and he's actually taking it apart and put it in his real one, and they're all interchangeable, which is what you expect from a 1-1 clone. It's for its price. It's got all the right materials in all the right places where you need them. Everything's put together really well. Yeah, build quality is a 10. For its price, I still think it's a 10. I know it's a more expensive clone than the other ones out there, but for what you're getting in this, it's a 10. You're getting what you'd spend 160 quid on for well, a third of the price.
There you go. Build quality and price for me. I mean, the build quality is bloody good. It is good. I mean, as much as I don't mind it, I don't like that. But and then that's a flaw of the real one. So if they get credit for the looks, they also get the bloody shame for the design. Everything else is well built. The tubes are heavy. The switch doesn't feel too bad. The threadings are pretty good. The module itself is very well made. Everything slots back together really nicely. The only thing there that may pressure over time, I guess, will be O-rings because that magnet's not going anywhere. Silver contacts. Yeah, build quality I think is a 10 definitely. Price. I think the price is relevant. I think it is. I think the build quality you're getting is relevant to that price when you consider the module you're getting. I mean, even though we've mentioned the Usability 20, that first dropped and that was 40 quid, wasn't it? That's nothing in comparison to this in terms of a good mod. So yeah, definitely build quality on this is definitely a 10. The price, I think, still the build quality price is a 10. I think it's worth the 55 quid you're paying for it. I do, and that's my 2 cents on that one, build quality and price. So there you go. Overall
on this Poldiac clone, I don't think it's going to be a starting mechanical mod for anybody just looking into getting into mechanicals. I mean, I think it's one of the not most difficult, but more difficult out there in terms of maintenance, like we said before. But for everyone else who's well into their mechanical devices and loving them, and who personally wants a Poldiac, yeah, I would highly recommend this. As long as you don't mind taking apart the switch, it's going to be a 10 all day for you. And a lot of people out there that have mechanical mods are very DIY savvy and love to tinker with their stuff. So yeah, for those people, 10 all day long. I just think for people looking to get a mechanical mod, if you do want to start on this one, it just may drop to about between an 8 and a 9 again, just depending on your terms of level of maintenance you want to put into this device.
There you go. For me overall, I mean, all things considered, everything's pretty good in it. The only thing is that for someone who isn't willing to work on the switch, probably not the ideal thing for you. But other than that, if you're willing to get your hands dirty a little bit and maybe get a bit of super glue involved if that's what you want to do, then overall, I mean, for me personally, this is definitely a 10. There's no two ways about it. I know that there are some other alternatives and that are not as expensive as this about there, but the main issue for me with those is it's not even anything else. It's just the contacts. It is the fact that these are silver plated, and the reason this is hitting well is because they're silver plated. If they were brass, I'd imagine you're going to be losing nearly twice the amount again through that module, and that for me is a drop off that I can tolerate definitely, and I can rapid apply resistance to compensate for it. But I like my mods to hit as hard as they can, and this one's up there with the best of them, to be honest. Less than a 0.2 drop off is bloody respectable for most mods, let alone when you've got that to go through. So yeah, that's kind of the selling point for me anyway. But yeah, my overall for this is definitely a 10. I really enjoy using it. I think it looks awesome in 350. I think in 650 it's a little bit longer than 650 mods, but I mean, what's your name's in 650 now, isn't it? The name's in 650 now, and what have we got there? We've got about 12mm difference.
Yeah, about that.
Between the top and bottom of the mod. I still don't care. I don't mind. It's not particularly overly garish in that size, and you've got different battery configurations if you choose to use them anyway, and you can kick it just not in 650. But I can imagine the reason they've done that actually is because with that much on it and the module on the top, it's going to be a very big mod.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very big mod.
It would be a snooker cube. So yeah, there you go. But that's overall for this one. Obviously, big thanks to Phil from Mods and Atties for sending this down to us to have a little play with. We've done some reviews on stuff from there before that we'd bought, and then yeah, awesome sauce. I think we're pretty much done.
Yeah, we are done. Yeah.
We've got some more stuff coming, guys, from Mods and Atties. You know who they are by now. It'll be down there if you want to go and check it out. You don't know, somewhere over there. But yeah, guys, thank you very much for watching. I've been Mr. Proton. It's been the Worm. See you soon.